Back to you, David.
Scott, thank you. Yes, perhaps the weather gods are cynics after all, because of all the cars you could put a wet track in front of. These are the least ideal. Big, powerful turbocharged engines in many cases, or big, brutal V8 engines in others. That said, you've got some rather handier front-wheel drive cars to take on the big bangers. So this is going to be an enthralling race. The modified Ford series, race 1 of 2. The cars were in action at the end of last year with huge grids. They started at Silverstone with Dave Cockell's Ford Escort Cosworth taking 2 wins, and it is local man Piers Grange who is going to be on pole position in the silver Ford Escort Mark II, with Jim Hutchison's Mark I lining up with him at the front. Josh Payton on the second row of the grid, and Tom Ovenden, rallycrosser, starting next. Let's look at that grid then. Piers Grange and Jim Hutchison row 1. It's a rolling start, by the way, ahead of Josh Payton and Tom Ovenden. David Matthias, the Leek-based driver, very experienced campaigner with Paul Neville for company. Then you've got Todd Gardner and Alex Bohm starting on the 4th row of the grid. Row 5 is where you find Mike Manning, another former rallycrosser with the Sierra Cosworth, and it is Oliver Bullion alongside him. Then Robert Lewis and Sam Shimwell lining up ahead of James Allen and Mike Furley. Chris Baker and Jay Hinton will come next, ahead of Alan Breck and Darren Owen. Deadly Daz, former Bangor racer and classic hot rod racer. Scott Matthias is ahead of Matt McCarthy. Then it's Luke Bennett and Piers Warwick, with Dave Barrett and Nick Head on the 12th row of the grid. The 13th row, Malcolm Wise, who seems to have been around racing Fords almost since the Model T. He's been such a stalwart racer. Colin Claxton, who's another Oulton Park Northwest Sports Saloon regular, 26th on the grid, ahead of Kevin Hadfield and then Sean Hadfield. Wayne Crabtree has a question mark over his very pretty Gulf Livery Mark 1 Escort, because that had problems in qualifying and retired before the end of the session, but as long as it's there, it should be a car to watch, making some progress. 1 or 2, as you can see, fabulous retro liveries, including not only Zaxby Castrol but also Jägermeister colours on a couple of cars, including the Eurocar V8 that runs for Luke Bennett and Alan Breck's Ford Capri V8. Martini colours, more familiar with rally Fords than racing Fords, but another Zaxby livery you can see. And the Gulf Escort of Wayne Crabtree has made it out, which is good news. It will start at the back of the grid behind Sean Hadfield's Ford Puma. Escorts, Fiestas, Capris, Cosworth Sierras. There's a Sapphire Cosworth I've spotted, plus the Ford-shaped Eurocar V8. There are 1 or 2 Fiestas in the mix as well. And Josh Payton deserves a word for his much modified Mark II Cortina, which is going to be 3rd on the grid. So cars slotting into place. Down on the grid, the Sapphire Cosworth I was talking about is the car of David Matthias, that is on the 3rd row. A little bit further back you'll find Mike Manning's Sierra running in the pseudo Eggenberger colours of 1987's World Touring Car Championship, 1988's European, and occasional British races, the Texaco colours in other words, but we'll no doubt come to that car in the course of the race. Mike Manning, with his rallycross experience, will be a man to watch in these greasy conditions, I think, but find something that's not got too much horsepower and is nimble and might make progress during the course of the race. That will be a potential winner, because for the moment the rain is still falling, and you can see wipers on the Escort Mark II and the Escort Mark I at the front of the grid. Piers Grange in the silver Escort, behind the pace car in the British Racing green and gold colours is Jim Hutchison. The 2nd row, the red Cortina, hidden for the moment, is Josh Payton, and then another driver with off-road experience, Tom Ovenden, in the family's familiar red and yellow colours, starting 4th. 5th is the white Sierra David Matthias. 6th is Paul Neville's white and blue, very Ford liveried Escort. Right, rapidly through the countdown. Safety car, pace cars it is, moves off. And so now the race cars follow suit. Opportunity to get a bit of warmth into tyres and discover where the traction may or may not be. the Fiestas and the Focuses, I think, are going to be worth keeping an eye on in the course of the race because, as I say, they're a little bit more nimble. In fairness to the Matthias family, they're both in the Sapphire shaped Sierra Sapphire Cosworths, which when they came along in their heyday were absolutely demon to win Group N and production saloon spec races, but never so successful in the 2-litre British touring car era. Down through a wet cascades then comes Piers Grange, the trailer manufacturer. One or two other drivers that are worth keeping an eye on. A little bit further back, Darren Owen with his Ford Escort, the Chase Metal recycling backed car at Dows's company. He was one of the stars in the 1990s of the Inca Race Midland Bangor racing scene, and then stopped racing while his son took up the competition cudgels instead, and then Daz came back to racing in classic hot rods and has spread his wings to circuit racing. He's always been a great fan of Fords, whether it was with an Escort in classic hot rods or, I suppose, in his Bangor racing days, like pretty much everybody else around him, it always used to be a Granada, which was the vogue car of the time. But Daz will be one to watch. I mentioned already the Sierra of Mike Manning, but throw into the mix as well Malcolm Wise, who's been racing Fords for a long, long time. And so on the track surface as we have it now, it's going to be interesting to see who the survivors are, who the clever drivers are that don't use all of the horsepower when they can't, and therefore risk going off the road. Number 29 is the Mike Furley Ford Escort Mark 1, backed by Derek Hale's new homes in Norfolk. Derek himself, former racer on the circuits and ovals. Big slide to get warmth into the rubber from Josh Payton's Cortina you saw coming out of the chicane. There's Mike Manning's Texaco liveried Sierra. The Jägermeister called Capri in the background with its V8 engine is Alan Breck, the ABC house and extension calculations backed car. So it is a very slow pace lap. You've got to say this. One of the reasons for having a warming up lap is to get warmth into the tyres, but the pace car driver is being rather timid on a wet road, perhaps understandably, but it's certainly not helping the race cars. And a problem, by the look of it, for 87, because peeling onto the cut through at Hislops is David Matthias. That, by the look of it, is the end of his Sierra, and I wonder whether that's going to delay the start, because he's going to park presumably up the escape road. Hopefully that is out of the way, and is he going to have to park it and retire, or can he do a sort of Control-Alt-Delete reset and get going again? Car is still moving, but as everybody will have gone past him, so he's going to have to start from the back of the grid. If he doesn't, then he'll get a penalty. So 87, David Matthias gets going with the touring car stickers on the side of the car, and Scott Matthias, his son, has also backed right off, possibly to see what's wrong with Dad. So those two now are going to find themselves right at the rear of the grid as they work their way up towards Druids. So Scott Matthias goes to the back as well, and the race will be getting underway shortly after this very, very slow formation lap behind the pace car, which seems to be taking forever. They crawl their way out of Druids. So the lights are out on top of the safety car. Everybody now should get themselves in that 2x2 Noah's Ark formation ready for the start. Tiptoeing down towards Lodge Corner. The pace car, as it is, will head for the pit lane finally, and then the race will be underway with Piers Grange rather quicker on his toes than Jim Hutchison behind him, who's fallen quite a long way back. Now it's up to the front row drivers to control the pace, which Piers Grange seems to have done a rather better job of. The lights go out. We go racing in a big, big slide. Paul Neville has lost it coming over the line, and he's in the barriers already on the pit straight. He just lost traction. There he is up against the barrier coming out of Deer Leap. So the race is on, but there's already a car, as you can see, up against the barriers. So the cars go down towards Old Hall Corner. Paul Neville is going to get himself going. Jim Hutchison comes through on the inside line and takes the lead from Piers Grange. Those two Escorts have made a good getaway Paul Neville's car is trying to rejoin as everybody else battles out of Cascades. In third place looks like being Tom Ovenden. In fourth place, I would offer you, is the Cortina Mark II of Josh Payton. And then the Fiestas are going to be next in the queue. Yellow flag on the start straight as Paul Neville has got going again, so he's somewhat delayed, but the road is clear at any rate as the leaders come out of Shell Oil's corner. Again, 15 minutes of racing, and the drivers hoping that the road dries out enough for them to be able to apply all of the power and get some grip, and it might just do so late race. But Jim Hutchison then, who didn't look all that keen on the end of the formation lap, is the race leader with the tail wagging as he comes out of Britain's over Hilltop. Great noise that the car makes, immaculately presented, and a proper kind of throwback to the Special Saloons era with a big rear wing on the car. In second place is Piers Grange. Look at the gap these three have pulled already over everybody else. Battle on amongst the Fiestas though there. Look, there's 77. James Allen goes charging through on the outside line. In fact, battle on amongst the Focuses, I should say. That's a Fiesta in strife though. That's 44 Oliver Bullion and goes across the grass. The Focus of James Allen back on track. So at the moment, it's just finding traction. It's surviving that's key to all of this. Down through Hislops they turn. And so up Clay Hill, lap one is going to be completed imminently by Jim Hutchison and Piers Grange. They are building the gap quite nicely over the opposition. Alan Brett goes through with the Jägermeister coloured Capri. And towards the end of lap one of 15 minutes of racing will come the leaders in a moment. 5:03 goes through. That's Jay Hinton's Ford Focus. But the leaders have already gone by. Jim Hutchison is ahead of a very sideways Piers Grange, who has lost it going into Old Hall Corner out of second place. And looking out of the window, just to tell you, because it's important, it's the second place car, it's in the gravel bed. There he is. Piers Grange is in the gravel in Old Hall Corner, and that was all the amount of power on the pit straight. The car had a massive fishtail. We've got one or two others. Oh dear, overtaking under a yellow flag there. Look, the white Fiesta shouldn't have done that. That was, I rather fear, Oliver Bullion. So hopefully he will redress that and back off. But coming out of the corner, it is going to be Tom Ovenden up into second place. And yes, Oliver Bullion has seen the error of his ways, and he's not just let Josh Payton through, but also James Allen's Focus. So the yellows wave. Now this new gravel trap at Old Hall Corner that has ensnared Piers Grange, new for this year, that going past Josh Payton is James Allen. That Focus is absolutely flying. But the concern would be that the car needs to be removed from the gravel bed and a red flag might have to be shown. So I'm keeping an eye on the gantry just to see what happens next. We are going to have the safety car. That's what we're going to do. So the safety car is going to be deployed. The race neutralised to remove Piers Grange and his car from the gravel. Nobody touched him, I promise you. Although we didn't see it, I was watching it out of the window, and it was just the amount of power as the turbo kicked in. The back started to wag, and there was just nothing Piers could do to hold it. Around it went, and it looped its way into the gravel. He's out of the race. There's another car that has just come down the pit lane. It's Paul Neville's rather battered Escort after its calamity at the start of the race. So not a good start to the race for Mark II Escorts, I'm afraid to say. Safety car then on track. Gives us a chance to have a look at one or two of the others, including Alex Boehm's Mark VI Fiesta there. Mike Manning behind, masquerading as Klaus Ludwig or Steve Soper or Klaus Niedwitz or Pierre Giudone, who were the Eggenberger drivers those seasons. And the safety car awaits the leaders. It will scoop them all up once the leader comes over the line, and Jim Hutchison has just done so. There he is. That's the race leader. Second place now will be Tom Ovenden there, moving up from junior rallycross and having a dabble in circuit racing at this level after being the choker package for the last couple of years. And then it's going to be a long, long wait, I think, before we have anybody for third, and I would suggest it's going to be James Allen's Ford Focus that's third. It is. Fourth now, Josh Payton. Fifth, Oliver Bullion. And then another big gap before Alex Boehm will be sixth. Mike Manning, seventh in the Sierra Cosworth. And in eighth place now is going to be Todd Garner. Ninth will be Robert Lewis, and then Jay Hinton to round out the top 10. Get the feeling, though, this is going to be a long safety car period, because as yet there is no recovery vehicle on hand to drag Piers Grange's car out of the gravel bed. And a 15-minute race doesn't offer you many laps anyway on a long circuit. 9 minutes done already. Sorry, 9 minutes to go already, I should say. So we've had the first third of the race. So safety car slows everybody down. Once, presumably, they're all in a line, then the instruction can be given for the recovery crews to go to work. There you can see second placed Tom Uppington trying to find a bit of traction on the outside, where sometimes there's a little bit more grip. They're going through number 49, almost ICS livery that, Piers Warwick's Escort, the Mark 1. Crossways garage, a Bromley entered car. It's got Jägermeister all around it, with Alan Beck ahead and Luke Bennett behind. Very smart Castrol liveried Escort. It's Mike Thurley's car, another former oval racer. Luke Bennett's Eurocar V8. Number 186 Colin Claxton. And the Ford Pumas a little bit further back right. There is seemingly movement at Old Hall, so trying to sweep all the gravel away from the front of Piers Grange's car, and we've lost another one because the Fiesta of their Sam Shimwell, the Boomerang racing car, has stopped. I want to say that's down sort of near Island Bend, that end of the circuit, but that car trying to be pushed to a place of safety. Now hopefully once Piers Grange's Escort is out of the gravel, it can be taken to the pit lane fairly swiftly. This is the heart in mouth moment where the driver hopes no more damage is done, because obviously with a big pull puts a load through the front of the car, but I think the operation is complete. The rope can be detached, and so now a bit of gravel swept out of the front. Piers Grange hopefully can fire the car up. No, he can't. And then he's got to get himself off the wet grass. Why they couldn't have put the car on the grass is a bit of on the tarmac and off the grass, I don't know. Out of the race there is then Sam Shimwell's Fiesta. It was down at Island Bend, so that goes to the cut through, hides itself in a place of safety. Now, I'm afraid, Piers Grange's car won't fire, so it can't drive off the grass because it won't fire up, so it's going to be a further delay. And it still doesn't want to fire. So now they're going to have to get the rope attached again. Pace car, safety car up towards the line. Now the marshals, I can see, are heading back to the Silver Escort at Old Hall. So whether that's to give it a shove to try and start the engine, or whether it's to push it off the grass, or both, we shall see in a moment. Race order remaining the same, of course. No overtaking permissible under the safety car procedure like this. And Jim Hutchison's big lead has all but evaporated. He'll hopefully be able to buy that back, of course, once the race goes live, although there won't be much of it left because we're already into the last 6 minutes. Marshall's there ready to hopefully give Piers Grange's car a shove. So the rope returns to the Escort. And the Matthias family with their Sapphire Cosworths, which started at the back, have now headed into the pit lane and rather look like they're going to the paddock as well. So frustration all round there. So yet another lap under the safety car. Big frustration for drivers that want to go racing, and this has taken at least 2 laps, I think. Piers Grange's car, I think, is finally out of the gravel and off the grass. Now it just needs to be towed somewhere safe, because clearly it doesn't want to fire up on its own. But on track, the Mark 1 Escorts, much modified, continue at the head of the pack, with Jim Hutchison leading the way. The Modified Ford Series, not a championship, but a series of races. And the class structure based on engine size and also whether or not the cars are multi-valve or have EcoBoost engines or the V6 or V8. The whole idea really is to attract in as many different cars as possible of varying levels of modification. There were something like 39 of them at Silverstone, 29 of them here, so it's still a very healthy grid, and with the drivers making their way down towards Britain's, the clock has got 3 3/4 minutes on it. I think the road is clear. There'll be a bit of gravel on the outside of Old Hall Corner, but this could end up with just one more racing lap, and currently we're only on lap 4. So that rain shower has made it spectacular, but it's not really helped from the driver's point of view their ability to go racing. So as the cars come again very slowly behind the pace car, the safety car as it is this time, out of Hislops, they're eager to get on with it, and of course the problem is when you go so slowly that any warmth you've got in your tyres just disappears completely anyway, so the restart becomes even more leery. The lights are out, which is good news, and Jim Hutchison then, although the rain has stopped, it's still a greasy road. We've got Tom Ovenden behind him, James Allen third. Now he's made really good progress from 13th on the grid. Admittedly he's been helped by one or two people throwing themselves at the scenery, but he's also been a bold overtaker. That was kind of what I was looking for before the race started. A car that was going to be quick but didn't have so much power that it became unusable in these conditions. And actually James Allen might not be done yet. If he's really on his toes and Tom Ovenden or Jim Hutchison get a bit sideways ahead of him, he might be able to gain another place before the end of the race. So one more lap, hopefully 2 we can squeeze in before the checkered flag. The drivers then make their way up towards the line. The green flag is shown, the lights go back to green, we're back racing, and a very, very determined start coming from the little Fiesta further back in the queue, number 620, which absolutely blasts through the traffic of Todd Garner on the inside line. He was on his toes, certainly. I would suggest he did a bit of overtaking before the timing line, not after it, but even so, he's gained places, and the leaders go down through Denton's in towards Cascades then, with hopefully one more lap to squeeze in before the very end. 39 there, Josh Payton, he got mugged off the line. Mike Manning's understeering himself straight on. The rally crosser is off-road. Go on, Mike, keep your boot in. He does so, slides the car to tarmac, to grass. Everybody finds a way past him. Mike Manning will be able to rejoin as there, look, through the traffic goes Daz Owens, very smart red Mark 1 Escort. Up towards Island Bend, he's got the Ford Focuses squabbling behind him as well now. Daz is on the mission. He's put himself up past Jay Hinton in 5:03, and at this rate, place in the top 6 might beckon for Deadly Daz. Comes out of Shell Oil's corner. So Daz Owen in the red Escort, getting himself on the back of the Fiesta and Focus traffic to try to wriggle through. You can see though his much more modified Escort with a little bit of a wag of the tail as the power kicks in, comes then now down towards Hislops, and also looking brave still, Todd Garner round the outside, number 620. Darren Owen just gets the car turned into the corner, moves himself up past 24 Alex Bohm's Mark 6 Fiesta in the process, as they come then now up towards the approach to Clay Hill. So the 2V engine Escort of Daz Owen looking to try to gain a place. Now 24 seconds or so on the clock. Where is the race leader? He's coming down towards Lodge. There in second place is Tom Ovenden, James Allen third, Josh Payton fourth. This is the fight for fifth then. Oliver Bullion ahead of now Daz Owen in sixth. So he had put himself into the top 6, but the question is whether they can squeeze another lap out of it. Thankfully the answer is yes. Jim Hutchison goes through, pulling away again from Tom Ovenden, so they're on to the last lap of the race. James Allen third, that's where he's going to plateau. In fourth place is Oliver Bullion, and in fifth, it's going to be Josh Payton. Sixth now for Todd Garner, and seventh is Daz Owen, but he's about to make a move on the inside going down towards Old Hall Corner. The Mark 1 Escort then looks for the inside. Daz Owen shows his nose, but the Fiesta chops him off for the moment. And now they make that run down towards Cascades. So the clock has hit 0. There are one or two others being able to gain ground a little bit further back now that the road starts to dry. Jim Hutchison through 181, race leader. And that's your second place car of Tom Ovenden. So the Mark 1 Escorts, first and second, and 7th, because don't forget Daz Owen's car also is knocking on the door of that top 6. Jim Hutchison, though, looking as though a race win beckons for him. He's also going to hope that things are a little bit drier this afternoon. Racing is going to restart in just over 45 minutes' time. That's Daz Owen going around the outside there of Todd Garner for 6th place. So he's put himself into the top 6. And can he do anything about Josh Payton's Mark II Cortina before the end? Because he's getting much, much closer. Look as they bounce their way over the curb. The back flicks out on both the Escort and then the Cortina ahead. Over hilltop they come, down towards Hislop. Daz Owen is certainly closing. He's certainly got the pace. Brakes for the corner, brakes for the chicane. Is he going to be able to dive up the inside? The answer there is no. Goes through the right, through the left, then right again. Out of Knickerbrook corner. And then the run up the hill. So this, I think, is his moment to make the pass, isn't it? Because he was just heading to the inside line, though, as they went up towards Druid. But Jim Hutchinson is set for a race win in the first of our 2 modified Ford Series races of the day. This time, as he comes up out of Deer Leap, there's going to be a checkered flag at the ready. And Jim Hutchinson wins the first modified Ford Series race of the day. Second across the line is going to be Tom Ovenden. There he is. And for 3rd place, it's going to be the Ford Focus of James Allen. In 4th, the little Fiesta of Oliver Bullion, one of the drivers of the race there, but underlining how sometimes too much power is a handicap. In 5th place, it is going to be Daz Owen, because he did go through on the run to Druid, and a change on the line for 6th, because we've had Todd Garner go through ahead of Josh Payton. So with 1 or 2 transponders not working, that's why the race classification is still shuffling. Everybody else comes over the line, including Mike Manning there, who got himself back on track after his gravelly moment, and also Wayne Crabtree after his travails earlier on in the qualifying session. The Ford Pumas chasing home the Escort Cosworth of Malcolm Wise. So Jim Hutchinson, the race winner, and considering he only had 2 laps after the safety car, to win by 8.3 seconds is pretty impressive stuff, I would have thought. James Allen then 3rd. Jim Hutchinson, James Allen, Oliver Bullion, Todd Garner, class winners. So also Piers Warwick, a little bit further back with his Mark 1 Escort. So we'll see the Fords out again later on. After lunch, the order is going to be the same. Formula Fords from the BMW, and then the Fords before we get to the Fun Cup race. And then 4 hours for the Fun Cup Endurance season opener. So Jim Hutchinson's win, 8.3 seconds. Might not have qualified at the top, but even so, a remarkable job done. And it remains to be seen whether Piers Grange and Paul Neville, and indeed the Matthias Izzis, can get their cars ready for race 2, because if they are, I'm going to come up from the rear of the grid. That'll be well worth watching. So let's have a look at the provisional result then. Jim Hutchinson, the winner of our modified Ford Series race, ahead of Tom Ovenden, with James Allen a class-winning 3rd. A class-winning 4th, Oliver Bullion. Darren Owen 5th in the end, ahead of Todd Garner, who took 6th on the line from Josh Payton. Robert Lewis was 8th from Alex Bone. Mike Thurley, with his very smart Escort Mark 1. 10th, Alan Breck next, and Wayne Crabtree started 29th and got himself up to 12th. A mega effort ahead of Mike Manning and Matt McCarthy's Fiesta in 14th. 15th, Piers Warwick ahead of Colin Claxton's Zack Speed Escort Recreation. Luke Bennett's Eurocar was ahead of Dave Barrett's Fiesta. Malcolm Wise fended off the Hadfields, and then Nick Head with Jay Hinton, Chris Baker behind. We lost Piers Grange, we lost Scott and David Matthias as well. And we lost Sam Shimwell, and we lost Paul Neville after his dramas off the rolling start. So there's not that much time for the Ford teams to do work, but there is work to be done, and hopefully we'll have a good complement of cars for our second race for them which will come up a little bit later on in the afternoon. So as I say, there was a short break from race action. We'll hear from our winning Ford drivers though, and then we'll have a chance to catch up on Fun Cup news. Jamie Zanis will be controlling the pits in the race, but also before it, and we'll word with some of the drivers and teams before we get into our 4-hour endurance race. That's going to come during the race break. The stream, as I say, will continue, and then we'll be back to a full afternoon of racing with these 3 categories that have delivered action. It's a shame that we've had the interruption to the Fords, but and the red flag in the BMWs, but some good racing this morning, more to come. The rest of the field you can see making its way around to the Parc Fermé area. Nick Head's Escort Cosworth in the Martini colour scheme makes its way towards the pit lane. Next race then, Formula Ford, in about 40 minutes. And see whether or not Richard Frey can do the double after the way that he went earlier on. Don't bet against him. I think he's going to be the message to the opposition. And then we'll look forward to BMW and Ford action with Fun Cup 4 hours. And it's a good entry. I know I keep saying this about a proper endurance race, but you've got some good names in there, whether it's experienced all-rounders like Jason Minshaw, whether it's previous champions like Neil Plymmer, or last year's champions from the Team Olympian GRD squad, or the very, very experienced Johnny Nolan with, what, 10, if not more now. Le Mans starts to his name. So there's a lot to look forward to in Fun Cup. Should be a really intriguing race, especially given the way the pit window works. Scott Woodwhistle will join me up here for that, but we've sent him back out into the rain to go and find our Ford drivers, and we'll hear from them in a few moments' time. So there's an opportunity for teams to do a bit of running repairs to cars. Cars to be retrieved around the circuit as well by the recovery team. And then we'll be back in business with the Super Classic Formula Fords Race 2 coming up after lunch. Richard Frey looking to do the double from pole position as he did earlier, despite his spin, but he'll be hard to beat. Right, Jim Hutchinson dominates our modified Ford Series Race 1. He's with Scott.
Well, slightly eventful first modified Ford Series race, to say the least, but we have got a top 3 here, and we'll be able to have a chat to him in a second. Let's have a chat first with Jim Hutchinson, who's our race winner, of course, in this really quite beautiful green and gold Mark 1 Escort. Looks like you were quite enjoying the sort of slightly damp, slightly wet conditions.
Aye, the car is actually very good. We just there's a new engine in it for the start of this year. It has had no testing. I didn't have time to test it back home in Northern Ireland, so it was a test day for the car and for myself, because I haven't raced in maybe 5 or 6 years myself, so it was a test day for both of us, so it's paid off. Yeah,
it's not a bad test day to win a race, is it?
No, it's nice. You have to take them when they come, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
Looks like you had some initial fun with Tom and the other RSR over there. These Mark 1 RSRs have got quite some poke in a straight line, haven't they?
Oh, they're class. I just love them. I have 2 of them. I have one back home again, and it's the same as that one, only it's road legal. So they're magnificent, yoke, definitely. Yeah.
And you're part of a magnificent grid of cars with all sorts of different Fords, shapes and sizes, so it fits in nicely.
Well, that's why back home in the north of Ireland, we don't have grids like anywhere near this. Plus, we've no calibre racing like this as well. So, yeah, this is my first time over racing with the Ford guys, and it definitely won't be my last.
Yeah, hopefully first of many, and you got to do the double now later on.
Oh, don't put the pressure on. No. Yeah.
Listen, you drove superbly. Well done. We'll see you for race 2. Congrats.
This
brings Tom over in second place. Apologies, he was signaling to give him a push, but it had to be the marshal to give him a push. But nonetheless, great to see you. Also, we should point out to Sim Motorsport as well. Of course, you're one of their sports and graduate, one of the BRSCC partners as well. Shout out to them. But Tom, what a car to drive, and apart from the small little hiccup at the end there, amazing performance for second. How was it?
Yeah, it's always very, very special to drive this car. With our family story the cars come from, it's always very special to do, and it's an awesome machine. Just a slight electrical issue. We're on a bit of a countdown with the battery, and it is just, I timed it absolutely perfectly. Yeah. Conking out as soon as I come back in the pit, so we'll get it sorted for race 2. But no, I really enjoyed that. The car was actually had more grip than I thought in those tricky conditions on the slicks. So yeah, it was really good. Having a good time to be too.
In the opening moments, you were keeping Jim honest in the other RSR, so that must have been fun. Both of you going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, it was good on the last lap. Lost the power steering and a couple of other bits, electrical things, I was like, okay, we've got a big gap, we'll settle, but I don't think I was catching him anyway, he was on rails. So, but no, these cars are so fun to drive. Real drive distance for what I'm used to, but it's really good fun, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
So apart from fixing a little electric glitch, you just put yourself on the front row of the grid and maybe try and beat him down to turn 1 next time.
That's the plan. I have to make sure my right foot's buried on the whole of the start.
Hopefully it's not too damp out there next time.
Yeah, hopefully it's nice and dry. We're quicker than dry, so if it's nice and dry, it's much more simple. So we much prefer that.
Good stuff. Well done, Tom. Congratulations. Excellent work. Good stuff. Let's bring James in 3rd place. How are you? Right, 3rd place. Good to see you back on the podium. You said to me the Focus was running well this morning. It's in tip-top shape, and 3rd place seems to be pretty on the point there.
Yeah, we had a few issues in qualifying. Just didn't really fall to us. But the race, we started 13th, and my idea was just to get ahead as quickly as I could, and we picked away a few. I think a few fell off, didn't they, the first few turns?
There was a handful, shall we say?
Yeah, which helped. Yeah, I just struggled with rear tyre temps, so the back end's just like a bit like the rear-wheel drive boys. It's just sliding around, and it's don't really do well for your confidence. Safety car helped. Maybe I caught up, but again, they got away. Just one of those, limp it to the end, and it's a 3rd.
Briefly, because first time I spoke to you on camera since the start of the season, you've got a new aero package on the back of the car. If you want to quickly spin and have a look at it, it's a slightly different, slightly taller rear wing than you had last year. Just talk us through the change on that.
So we was forever being told by people who know better than us, it's a parachute, take it off. So I basically said I'm not taking it off until I've got an alternative, and it's basically the current generation touring car wing that we've put a little bit further out than what they're allowed to do, but within our regs, and yeah, it's made a big difference, certainly on the straights.
Excellent. Well, it seemed to make a difference as well to get you up to 3rd, so all working well, and fingers crossed the race too.
Brilliant. Thank you
Good to
very
see you.
much.